Hey guys, it's Jeremy here at Metal Music Meltdown, back with another video. What I have today, guys, is the next installment of my top 10 albums of each year. I've been working my way through the years chronologically, starting in 1970, and we're up to 2012, so we're getting closer to being caught up to the date. Kind of been adding these in every couple of videos, kind of revisiting the previous years. 2012 was a pretty strong year. A lot of solid albums that came out this year, a lot of honorable mentions that I didn't quite get to put on. So I'm going to blast through some honorable mentions here quickly before I get into the list. One was Woods of Ypres, number 5. Their last album, really good album. Didn't quite make my list. They're more local. They're from my neighborhood. Unfortunately, the lead singer passed away, but a crazy good album. I have it on record, vinyl and CD. Just a really good record to listen to. Very somber and like depressive sounding, but really heavy at the same time. Definitely check those guys out if you're not familiar with them. Just some other quick ones from the maybe more popular bands that more people would know. We had Lamb of God, Resolution was a pretty solid album. Baroness had Yellow and Gold and barely didn't make my list. I love Baroness, really good band. And to give just a confirm for the Woods of Ypres, the full name of the album is Woods 5, Grey Skies and Electric Light. Definitely check those guys out. And we also had Elevati with Helvetos, a really good folk metal band. Really like them as well, but didn't quite make the list. One that might be surprising is Meshuggah Kolos. Again, barely did make my list. I'm not a huge into Meshuggah, but that album is really good. And let me see here. Soulfly had Enslaved, really good album. I love Soulfly. I love everything Mac Cavalera does. Epica had Requiem of the Indifferent. Angel Witch had As Above, So Below. Really good comeback album after like over 20 years. Really good album. Autopsy had a good album that year. Accept had Stalingrad, another really good album. Exhumer had Fire and Damnation, really good thrash album. And just to name a couple of quick ones, other ones here. Tankard had a good, decent album that year as well. Critopsy had a good EP. Yeah, that should be good for now, guys. So let's jump right in to my list. At number 10, I went with Silosis' third album, Monolith. I love all these guys' albums, just really solid, mixed, good blend of like thrash metal, melodic death metal, some traditional metal stuff mixed in there. Not one of my favorite albums from them, but that's why it's at the bottom, but still really solid nonetheless. Number 9, I went with Cannibal Corpse and Torture. I love Cannibal Corpse. I'm not the biggest death metal guy, like straight up death metal, but I love the original wave of bands that came out in the late 80s, early 90s. And Cannibal Corpse is just one of those bands like Autopsy and those other bands that came out in that scene that I just love. And most of the material is always pretty good. There's not too many new death metal bands that I really grab onto. They have to be doing something that really catches my ear for me to latch onto them, but I'm really into the old school bands still. Number 8, I went with the final studio album from local legends Rush called Clockwork Angels. Really solid album to end their career. Went back to the more hard rockin' kind of vibe from their older material. Really enjoyed this album. It was actually one of the first ones I bought on physical copy, to be honest. I don't have a ton of Rush albums. I have this one, Moving Pictures. I think, what else? I think I have the debut, if I'm mistaken. I only have like 3 or 4, but I'm going to buy them over time. I definitely want most of their discography, especially the older stuff, really good stuff. At number 7, I have Blood for the Masters by Goatwhore. This is their 5th studio album. Really solid album. Black and death metal kind of band. They never disappoint. Love all the material. I think I have most of their albums except for the last one I think I don't have. But really good band. If you're not familiar with them, definitely check them out. At number 6, I have Overkill with Electric Age, another killer thrash album from the New Jersey veterans. These guys never disappoint. I can't think of an album they have that was not good. They put out banger after banger, and their last like 4 or 5 albums have been really, really strong. And this is a great album. We'll love this album. Number 5, I went with High on Fire's De Vermis Mysterious. Excuse me. This is their 6th studio album, another band that never disappoints. Perfect blend of sludge and thrash and like aggressive extreme metal. I love Matt Pike's lead vocals. He kind of reminds me of a new version of Lemmy. He carries a kind of, the spirit of him is very rock and roll, and he just reminds me of a newer version of Lemmy, which is killer. Number 4, I went with Phantom Antichrist by Kreator. Fucking love Kreator. A lot of people don't like their newer sound. They complain it's got too many hooks and like too much melody now. But I really enjoy it. I think it's really, really good. And Phantom Antichrist was an album I latched onto right away. And I listen to it even to this day on high rotation. Really good stuff. And number 3, I went with Catatonia's 9th studio album, Dead End Kings. This was my entry point to this band, and it blew me away. Perfect blend of progressive metal, gothic kind of sounds, very somber, depressive sounding. Lead singer has a really good vocal delivery. And once I picked up this album, fell in love with this band right away. I went back into their catalog and picked up, I think I have like 5 or 6 of their albums now. I don't have all of them, but I'm working on it over time. But a really good band. If you're not familiar with Catatonia, definitely check them out. And this album might be my favorite one. I'm not sure if it's just because it was my entry point, but I just always love this album. It's killer. Number 2, I went with the mighty Gojira, L'Enfant Sauvage. Really love this album. Great band out of France. All their albums, again, are killer. Some really solid tracks on this one. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was my introduction to the band too. I discovered them a little bit later on, and I went back and picked up some of their albums, and I've on the pace of picking up the whole discography. I haven't got quite all of them yet. I think I have like 2 or 3 more to pick up. And my number 1, I went with Testament, my second favorite band of all time. I wasn't going to put them at number 1 initially, but I kind of decided to put them there because it's from this list. I think this is my most listened to album. I listen to Testament like weekly for sure. All their albums get rotated into my playing time. And Dark Roots of the Earth is a killer album. Great artwork as always with tracks like Rise Up, Native Blood, Dark Roots of Earth, True American Hate. Like top to bottom, it's just a killer album. Love Chuck Billy, my favorite thrash metal vocalist of all time. Skolnick and Peterson with their guitar work. It's just a killer band. I had to put Testament number 1. Always love this album, and never disappoints. One of those bands I just love all their stuff. So let me know down below, guys, what your picks would be for 2012. I'm sure there's a bunch I missed, but in the honorable mentions, I didn't want to sit here and go through the list online here and trying to find Devin Townsend. Epi Cloud was another good one, but there's a ton of good stuff that came out this year. So let me know down below, guys, what your picks of 2012 would be. Stay tuned for 2013, probably within the next week or so. And keep it metal, guys.